Welcome everyone to the Tuesday midweek software strategy session. My name is Steve Vetterl, the CMA of Auvoria Prime, your risk manager. View my role as one of trying to help you stay profitable and stay out of the risky maneuvers. So we go through a quick risk disclosure here. Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin and utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So Auvoria's is not a does not have any recommended settings. We're not a financial advisory firm. The firm licenses software they can use however they want and at their own risk and discretion. Some software does come with default settings upon initial setup, which users have the ability to customize their settings however they want. So Auvoria Prime has nothing to do with a customer's broker account. We don't solicit or take investments. We don't recommend any brokers. Again, we're just licensing software, selling amazing education. That would be a plug for Susan and Adeze and all of the amazing coaches out there. The users can learn and potentially benefit from. So settings are not company recommended settings. The settings that I show, we use on our accounts. You're welcome to follow along with these settings. Let me just go over to the next sheet. For those of you that are new to Auvoria Prime, welcome. I do these calls twice a week, once at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is essentially 1 p.m. Eastern time. That's 7 p.m., I guess, for most of Central Europe. And I also do it on Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So all of these calls are recorded. They are all in the back office, as I constantly sound like a broken record. I highly recommend that you watch all of the strategy sessions that we want, especially the one that aired on the 30th of May. That's where we went into the high volatility settings, which we are currently using now in all of our accounts with the exception of 2. So I have a couple FX books to stick in front of the screen to you guys today, go through a few things. Let me just do a quick chat window. Make sure everybody can hear me okay. Make sure everybody can see my screen. You should see the PowerPoint slide. Okay, looking good. Let me open up the Q&A window as well. If you guys could please type all questions up related to anything you want me to attempt to answer. Doesn't mean I certainly can answer it right. Could always be wrong, but we certainly will give it an attempt instead of putting that in the chat window. I would appreciate that. So switch over to the Forex calendar. I wanted to make a couple of comments, just a little bit of an echo of what I talked about on Saturday. Let me switch the screen sharing here. For those of you that are not in the habit, I highly recommend going to forexfactory.com, which I put in the weekly notes, which is an addendum to the Saturday call. And I always go in here and I take out the low impact news stories. I'm keeping all currencies in, by the way, now because we're trading so much different stuff. I don't weed any of them out like I used to. Just click apply filter. It's going to show you the red foldered events or the big impact news stories, if you will, whatever you wish to call them. For the different events that you see, always make sure you have the date right. Sometimes if you're looking at this, the date could be a previous week or forwarding and so forth. You can always click on any of these details to find out what's going on with the particular news story. So my clock, as you can see here, is set to East Coast time. So that means that anybody trading the NZD ring, do understand that the Bank of New Zealand is coming out early tomorrow morning, which essentially is 10 p.m. Eastern time, with their rate statement, which they do 7 times a year. So they're expected to leave rates at 0.25%. But this certainly could send anything attached to the NZD into a spin. Okay. One thing I do not know about the Bank of New Zealand is whether or not they do like a following Q&A like the Federal Reserve does, which is typically half an hour after they release the news. So just keep an eye on that. I have heard recently, especially with some of the guys in my downline, not paying attention to news stories and the impact that they can have on the Alexander trades they've accepted, or certainly the Einstein running round the clock. So do make sure when you have a minute, take a look at the settings and take a look at whether or not the software is off for news events. So anything related to any kind of reserve bank, essentially the head bank of any country. If you're trading that particular country's currency ring, I probably would have the news off a little bit further than the settings show. So let's go into the live account here. This is trading the main 3 ring we constantly talk about. Let's pop the settings window up. You can always do that by clicking these little boxes. You can see all the 3 currencies we trade. Open up the settings, and these are the out-of-the-box settings. These are slightly adjusted here. As you can see, for the range multiplier and a position size multiplier, we have implemented the what we are terming the high volatility settings. Also, if I don't get a chance, if somebody could please, if one of our managers or directors are on the phone, any of our top folks, if you could put my Telegram channel in the chat window, that would be great. This is the place we try to really push everybody to make sure that everybody is subscribed to this and has, at least for if you're trading live or demo accounts, make sure you have the Telegram channel set to alert whatever device you're having it coming in on, whether it be a tablet, a desktop, or some sort of smartphone. There's a lot of different Telegram channels I subscribe to, and I get alerts to everything. So, it's all important stuff because we've got, multiple conversations going off surrounding the developers of different software stuff in beta tests, and obviously conversations surrounding settings, all the important stuff to try and guide you and sort of lead the ship, which is growing ever larger every week. So it's good to see. Do keep in mind we have the Summer Forex Kickoff Contest, which is running till July 4th. That's giving discounts on Einstein and Alexander for affiliates to sign up some of their new customers. So make sure you jump in the back office or jump over to the Auvoria Prime official channel and you take a look at that. So some pretty good discounts. If you guys got people on the fence, right now they're offering at $68 off the normal price, which is actually a pretty darn good deal. So out of the box default settings, don't really have a lot of comments on this here. I think it's just important to understand as we'll take a closer look at some of the MyFX books, as I also talk about in the risk or trading plan that everyone should have. There should include hooking the account up to myfxbook.com. It's just a great way to see all kinds of analysis. As we get a little further in, especially with this is the 25K live accounts denominated in euros. It's trading the same 3 ring of the smaller account that we showed you guys that's live. Same volatility settings. One thing that is interesting to note with the trade summary, I know a lot of folks have been on the bandwagon of we hate the Euro JPY because it has certainly led us astray. But take a look at this. Oops. Take a look at this on the screen here. What's that say, right? Things put up some pretty decent profit in both this account, okay? Again, same 3 ring. Let me switch over to the 3K Einstein. Again, high volatility settings, flipping those 2 around. This thing's actually done really well in terms of shorts win rate. It's almost 70%. It's really good. So you can click on the summary tab, see the 3 pairs that we're trading. And look what we see here. What do we see? It is now leading the trades. So as I got a lot of emails and certainly a lot of people were just completely ready to bail, what did I say in a bunch of the weekly calls? I could just see if I came out publicly and suggested taking the Euro JPY out of the ring, right? Thus lowering diversification, right? Thus lowering potential for profit if in fact it came back into favor, and now it's posting, at least for this account. Granted, it's a short term that this account's been running, has been running that long, but it has brought this account back into the black, into positive profit. Although it's a whole raging $161, it proves the point that I'm just want to stay with diversification. I'm unwilling to step in front of the software and say that I'm smarter than it. So the account's up 5%. It's executed about, what was that number again? It's executed about 246 trades so far. So for this week, it's down slightly. I think a lot of that has to do with just the yen being the wild currency of the out of favor parts of this ring that certainly have been unloved for periods of time. But I still like the fact that at the end of the day, once we sort of cut through all the gobbledygook, look at this win rate. I mean, that is really good. Okay. So we don't have a large data set. We only got 246 trades. You know, it's only a $3,000 live account. We have a little bit better data. Taking a look at the larger account. Again, running high volatility settings, flipping these two right here, flipping the range multiplier and the position size multiplier. I have all this exhaustively detailed on my trade tracking channel. Let's go back here. What else do I want to comment on? The thing that's most important, I've always been looking is what's the drawdown been, right? What has the win rates been? That's a good place to start, sort of how to learn this. Do note if you guys do want to send me an email, my email address is svettorel, VETTOREL at AuvoriaPrime.com. I do need your MyFX book link, and I do need everything that you see here unlocked, okay? A lot of people send me this account and it's locked and I can't see what's going on. I got to email you back. So save us both the time, if you would please, and unlock this stuff. You can always lock it back up again after I take a look at what's going on, right? We don't share links. I don't forward your links to anybody. Keep in mind, I'm a Series 65 registered investment advisor in the United States. So that carries with it the same brutally secretive and discretionary Hippocratic oath that lawyers and doctors have. So I think it's important to understand that we do try and keep a lot of privacy, especially with a lot of live accounts that I've been given access to of a pretty large size. So do understand I do take the discretion seriously. So, and I'm doing that because I want everybody to feel comfortable, but at the same time, you know, this is slightly selfish motivation here. I want to see data. Okay, I want to see lots of it. That doesn't mean I want everybody to shoot me an email right now. Okay, but if you have significant amounts of data, you can always get in touch with me. You know, either some of the groups that you may have connections to in Telegram. I'm a member of like 10 different channels, or you could just email me a link to the MyFX book if you would please. So, but I want to see long-term data. I don't want to see a couple of months. Okay. Because I've already got all that here. Unless you're trading some exotic ring, you know, related to the NZD. So with that being said, also, Jesse's going to share this and he's going to elaborate more on this. But for those of you trading the NZD GBP, okay, remember this is a particular currency pair that has a tremendous backing of data in terms of its effectiveness. In the ability to essentially work well with Einstein. So this is a new, this live account has been running too long, but the account's up significant percentages and the win rates are really high with this. Now, just because you're seeing some good numbers here, I caution everybody, I am not the expert at this ring. Maybe in another month or two. But for now, I'm not the expert at this ring. And I do highly recommend that you take a look at Jesse's channel, because I'll tell you, this kid knows his stuff. And we call him now Johnny Neutron for a reason. And his data is deep and his trading is a lot more active with Alexander. Okay. So I am following a lot of different rings, but I've only got so much time during the week to start to. But we'll be hooking more of these up. So you can see how these live accounts are doing. Very, very promising stuff on this particular account, even though it really hasn't been running that long. So let me jump back to. So one of the questions I got is surrounding the settings. So let me just show. I don't know what the settings Jesse has on this 10K. I know that he has posted the settings on his trade tracking channel, so you can just look him up. All right, what else did I want to say? A lot of this stuff, I mean, you guys could click on this and it shows you the definitions of what everything is. I don't know that I'd get too caught up in any of this. You know, the most important thing is to remain very conservative, okay? You know, make sure you understand the settings of the software. Make sure that you understand that, in my opinion, you should be running a demo first, and you should understand how all these settings are affected, especially if you make some changes to the settings, like going from trailing equity as an example here to maybe a fixed weekly goal. For some of you who are new, this is sort of like settings 101. I've shot a video on this, which I think the team's going to be producing and uploading into the back office that explain all the settings. Just understand, if you select the fixed weekly goal, you got to click OK, and that this particular number underneath it, which is the percentage goal, now becomes active. Okay, when trailing equity, like you see that it's active on this particular live account, trading our main 3-pair ring, we have a trailing equity start. You can always make changes to these numbers. You know, if you're shooting for the moon in trailing equity start with something like a 6 or 7 or 8% a week, that's great. But don't leave your trailing equity at 1%, right? You know, have it trail a little tighter. You don't necessarily have to have it trail by 1 percentage point, but you know, if you really are that good at running the software, and I certainly have seen some accounts that are doing that with all kinds of different settings, you know, they're obviously putting more time into it. These are individuals that are very skilled at Forex trading. They are selective about the trades that they accept, being notified, obviously, from Alexander. So there's a little more involved on that. Do keep in mind, guys, I know this is gonna probably ruffle some feathers, but I do not consider either of these softwares as a set it and forget it. Almost 100% of anybody that's had serious problems and account blowouts has mostly come from them not having these settings correct. Almost hands down, I've seen that. Or they didn't know what they were, or they got the settings from someone in their up and down line that may not have been just dialed in on these settings as someone like, you know, our group, right? So I talk with a lot of the directors, you know, guys like Tyler, guys like Cameron, guys like Jesse. And these guys are exceptionally dialed in as far as where the settings should be. You know, that's what I'm really basing a lot of my discussions on is a long-term data set on a quality conservative settings. You know, we're not out just pulling settings out, but at the same time, you know, we're also challenging developers right now to come up with some better stuff, right? Let us know if they're trading or not for the week. That would certainly be important, right? Because if the developers aren't trading, you know, this is obviously very important to these guys because they, you know, they're running some pretty good chunks of money with different versions of Einstein and Alexander's. So, you know, we certainly want to know if they're going to be trading for the week, and, you know, they'll let us know. There's been chunks of the last few months that, heck, they haven't even been trading. So I think that maybe that was a bit of a disconnect. Maybe I could take some partial time for that, partial credit, I guess I should say, because I probably should have known that. But, you know, I was getting ramped up since the 2 months I've been in this role. So I do want to note before we move on here, to stop trading for news. These can be adjusted. Personally, anything related to a central bank announcement has to do with anything related to money supply or debt that a particular company or a country is going to be incurring. It's going to affect the currency. Doesn't mean it's going to affect it and go wild, but, you know, stop trading for news is an adjustable setting for a reason, right? You can turn it off. Some experts choose to run completely through news, right? So a lot of the guys I know that run completely through news, they also have the settings adjusted so that the account can withstand some tremendous movement, just like the 25K Forex account, right? We've got that set at 0.01 per 3K. So seems really conservative, right? Yeah, it is. But this particular account can handle almost 1,000 pip move in 3 pairs, which is a major stretch, right? and the 3 pairs trading here. So again, the utmost importance of my role is to make sure that all, 6,000, 8,000 plus subscribers we have, some are running Einstein, some are running Alexander, some are running those and Iris as well. But as long as, they understand the settings, it's going to make my job a lot easier, and it's going to make all of your guys' jobs a lot easier. So please don't candy coat these settings discussions. I've had literally in my own team, I understand the frustration of just having to pound my guys in to make sure they watch these calls, right? I mean, we're not up here just for our health. We're up here protecting everybody's accounts as much as we can, which is difficult to do in Forex because there's always going to be periods of time where something goes completely wild. And we've seen just an extraordinary level of that and a lack of trending capacity over the last 6 months. So our hope is that, it's been a little calmer recently, which is cool. I've seen a lot of accounts snapping off anywhere between 2 to 6% a week, depending on their settings, right? So you can always change up the settings to whatever you want to do. You can even have the account trade something of a smaller time frame, right? You see this account's trading a D1. It's a daily chart, right? Typically D1s, W1s, which is a weekly chart, these have much more predictable patterns for software to chase after, okay, than trading something like an H4, which is nothing but a 4-hour, 240-minute chart, all the way down to trading something really small like a 15. With some of the different versions of software we have in beta test that will be released at some point, some of these do trade smaller time frames. And, while I think that's cool, it also can bring more risk into the account, because it's trading on patterns that may not be as well recognized. So I'm going to let you guys sort of ponder on this, and I'm going to tear through some of this Q&A in one moment. Put the questions in the Q&A window, please, guys, not in the chat window. All right. All right, thank you, Mariska. She put in the link to my trade tracking channel. Is there a list for these live accounts? How long should we keep an account in demo? My answer to that question is going to be eternity. I will continue to have demos always running for different stuff. And now that I'm getting a much better foothold on settings and different accounts, and I've got like 7 or 8 different ones I'm following. In addition to, I have 4 instances, which is just nothing more than 4 private VPSs to hook different accounts up to. We've already hooked a bunch up, and we've linked them up to FX. I'm showing that actively now. So I'll always be running accounts in demo. Yeah, so do understand this, guys. I see a lot of VPS questions, and I saw a lot last week, and I am not the VPS expert. Although I will give a shout out to Patrick and the team, because these guys have done an unbelievable job getting some of these problems fixed. If you cannot access your account via the VPS, whatever the link is, I bookmark them always because I choose to use Firefox and Chrome for most of my business stuff. But you can always, access them directly from the back office. It's a second way to get into the VPS. All right, so let me jump over to the demo account. Now the demo, since I got one question on, this one's running a little differently. We're running a different kind of ring. This is not a recommendation to go out and change your ring, okay? We're just running on different stuff, and we're running high volatility settings. But in this particular case, we've got a larger stop loss. It's 400 pips, okay? So it's a demo, small, you really barely, in my opinion, should be running 3 pairs on really nothing less than $3,000, in my opinion, of live money. And if you're going to be trading on something that's more exotic than the main 3 ring, USD, JPY, Euro ring that we run the other accounts on, you've got to make sure you have this stop loss dialed into what the volatility is related to these pairs. It's paramount that you understand the volatility related to this. And this is one of the big reasons I tout Jesse so much, because this kid has a huge understanding of the moves. We've built spreadsheets for these moves with a lot of long-term data to know, how these pairs trade in terms of the potential for them to rip one way or the other. So do keep that in mind. So, all right. Is there a list of these FX books? I'm showing them on the screen. We do not have a list built for them. I'm not sure that we need that. One of them's 25K live accounts denominated in the euros trading the high volatility settings, right? And then we have the other account. It's 3K Einstein. This is 3K Einstein as well. One was started before the other, so it's a little bit longer term data. This hasn't been running that long. We do have a lot of accounts that have been running a long time on all of the previous versions of Einstein. And those are the ones I continue to pay attention to because they have lots of long-term data. I'm not going to be showing those because a lot of the owners in those accounts, whether they've given me approval or not, it's just really not my place to show their accounts. But I can tell you, and please have faith in this, is that these accounts have had just an inordinate amount of ability to pull out of stuff. And I know a lot of these, it's taken some time. In some cases, it's taken a month, but they've pulled out. That's been good. Jesse shares his settings on all accounts almost daily, but definitely every weekend before the market opens. Okay, so just know that. I do not know the answer to this question, Tammy. On the new VPS, are we able to save settings templates? Do we have to load new settings each time? More than likely, once you click OK, it should save the settings right here. What happens if you shift from D1 to H4? Maro, all you're really doing is changing the time frame that the software trades. Okay, if you shift from D1 to H4, that's a more aggressive setting. So right now, I would stick with D1, until I've turned into just a raging expert, and all of the other guys who are far smarter than me's knowledge is poured into my head, and I've been able to compress it all, which is just a very difficult task. I'm going to be safe trading on D1 now. On some of the other stuff that's coming out that's in beta test, I have no idea on the releases. It's a very fluid thing, so don't send me emails asking me for beta test release because I don't know. Okay, but I can tell you that the data has been very promising on smaller accounts trading a shorter time frame. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. The software is doing a bunch of different things, Morrow. It's looking at all kinds of historical patterns. It's based on what's called a martingale strategy. Can you please review range multiplier and position size multiplier if you do not remember which week you reviewed it? Okay, so first off, Michael, what I would do if I were you and everybody on this call, if you have not seen the March 30th presentation with my special guest, Tyler, our R&D director, guy that's had his nose in the trenches for a couple of years in this stuff, I would highly watch that. I'm not going to repeat everything that turned on or that we did, essentially on that Saturday, because it was just way too much stuff. It was a killer present. Hell, I've even watched it again. What's that tell you, right? Would you consider hedging earlier in a sequence when you know you're going to be carrying trades through news? It just depends if this is an Alexander type thing, and you have that expertise to hedge. But I would not, if you are a beginner at this, I would not be getting into that. You can just accept less trades or no trades through news. But if you're still carrying trades, it's a tough thing to come out to somebody that doesn't understand the software and tell them to not accept versus accept. What if you don't accept maybe it's a level 3 trade that Alexander's shooting out on, euro US dollar, yes, which is drawing the account into more drawdown, but now there's a chance that maybe that would pull it out, or at least give you a shot of having more of a rubber band snapback, right? If you're genuinely good at understanding that, like some of the individuals I've mentioned and many others that I've talked to that are good enough to be able to pull that off, then the answer would be yes. But for 99.9% of you guys, the answer is no. Just let the software continue to do its thing if you're already in some of these trades. And that is, if you will, and I feel your pain on that, but that is the sticky part of this software. It's because this is one of the biggest questions I get is, what do I do if I'm in drawdown and news is rolling around, right? So it's almost like people magically want me to tell them that I can read a crystal ball and see what's going to happen with news. I can't, right? I may have won all these awards, guys, but I'm not that good, right? And I'm oftentimes wrong. And, we all have mud in our face occasionally as traders. You just have to be able to soak it up and get back up on your feet, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward, or else you're going to fall apart. But, let the software do what it's, it says AI software for a reason, right? Software has the ability to think, has the ability to maintain risk, has the ability in some cases take a bigger swing at stuff, right? A bigger bat. But if you're looking at the screen right here is the range multiplier, position size multiplier. If you go over to my Telegram channel, you can see this. Essentially, these are flip-flopped right now from what they normally are. All this is doing is just casting a wider net. It's allowing the software to be able to sustain or put up with, if you will, a wider range or more volatility in terms of movement of these pairs. It's entirely okay to close a trade that is close to the target price if you want to lock in the profit without adversely affecting the bot sequence, okay? I mean, you can do that manually. Steve, thanks for your presentation. We appreciate it. Okay, cool. Please, a brief analysis of the USD JPY and which direction movements are going. All right, let's take a look at that. Now, this is the pair that is really has the lowest profit in a lot of our accounts right now because it's sort of squeezed around. But let's open up the screen here. Can get rid of all these windows, you guys, and essentially be able to. You just have to be patient when you're closing these damn things down. There we go. Maybe not. All right. So what I'll usually do is I'm looking at a daily chart here. A lot of times if I can't close this window, which kind of drives me nuts. There we go. So towards the beginning of the month, this is when a lot of things were essentially going wild. This is obviously related to the fact that the euro, I should say that the US dollar really had a big sell-off. And I think there was just a bunch of institutions related to some huge changes in, obviously policy seems like it's shifting day by day in terms of debt that this country's taking on. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that the dollar's swinging around like a tether ball. But it went way up. It was exceptionally stretched out at this point. So usually when you have such a protracted move into hell, this was past the 3 standard deviation, which is a really big move. It's going to snap back towards the mean. Markets are mean reverting generally. Not all markets, but most markets are generally mean reverting, which just means if they get really out there, they're going to want to snap back. And the software tries to essentially play upon that. So, I mean, ideally in manual or discretionary trading land, this was a big area up here, right up just under the 109.80 area. I would have actually been short right here. So, I mean, I would have just come out and put on a couple of shorts as soon as we peaked out. You can always click on an H4 to get more of a move down, essentially looking lower into it. But really right forward, just looking at a daily chart, essentially we're stuck back now in the range. It's a fairly broad range. I mean, it is. It's thousands of pips, this particular range. So it's within, unfortunately, a wide range. So it's hard for me to say anything other than, unless there's news, obviously we break this low point down here, there really could be some havoc. But for now, just based upon the movement I've seen, I would expect us to stay inside this range for a period of time, essentially building a basing pattern. If in fact we do that, and I am right, this is where the software can flourish on small moves, essentially bouncing back and forth between range highs and range lows. New to this second weekend, hey, congrats, Derek. How do we get access to Jesse's preferred settings? So you just go to his, just go to his channel. All stuff's there. You recommend settings. Recommend. What do you recommend? I don't understand. What do you recommend setting? It just depends, Catherine, where you live. Let me just show the screen again. Not that one. Here we go. Here's the settings. Okay, so we have trading times. You can start, you can double click on this, select Sunday if you want. I usually will recommend starting Sunday at least 2 hours after the market opens up. What should the max number of levels on a 5,000 account be? See this right here? Right now, we have it at 8. Let me just peel through some of this stuff here. Okay, so Jeanette asks, would be nicer to have more info on the market than on settings on this call. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Jeanette. It's just that each week we just have a lot of new followers that come on, so I feel sort of obligated to go through this, mostly because, unfortunately, it has been demonstrated to me that nowhere near the percentages of people I want to see are going back and watching previous videos. So now I tell you, and the reason I have stayed away from technical analysis, folks, is because I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. If we cannot demonstrate adequately to oneself that we've run some demo accounts and we understand all the settings and all that, which I still am not seeing proof that the herd, if you will, the troops are doing that, then I'm going to be sticking to a lot of the basic stuff. But the other problem is once you get into hardcore technical analysis of currency pairs, it isn't going to do much direction for, in a lot of cases, what it can do for you is it can cloud your behavior. So I don't want one to become, and it's great to get an education in technical analysis, and I highly recommend it. But it begins to start to affect one's ego when it comes to accepting trades related to Alexander, right? So if you're stepping in front of the software and you're saying something like, hey, I'm a new technical analysis expert, I think I know what's going on, I would tell you do not do that unless you are a true pro, right? Some of the folks that I've mentioned, because again, you're saying you're smarter than the software. So it's sending you alerts for trades. And unless you're in drawdown and it's money you cannot afford to lose, which I would say shame on you, shouldn't have done that. Or you're trading around news, you should be accepting the trades from Alexander. Obviously when you're asleep, you can't accept them. If you're in meetings or whatever, but unrelated to that, if there isn't any big red folder events in front of you, which you always want to be cognizant of, then you should be accepting trades. I think the problem is if I get into it, and I'll tell you, if there's enough of a need or a want, if you will, of me to get in and start teaching some basic technical analysis, I'm first going to default to a Days Ace course. Go through that first, right? Make sure you understand all the basics of Forex. And I'd be happy to get into, at some point, which I think it's a bit early at this juncture, could be wrong, with some technical analysis discussions. because a lot of people, it's going to just go in one ear and out the other. And I think it's best held for a different forum. All right, let's see here. Have you heard of anyone with Einstein whose software isn't placing many trades? With the exact same settings as a few other people, and theirs is performing 20, 30 trades a day. Mine is. Okay, so Anonymous, in this particular case, you're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into what's going on. Okay, so for instance, the statement, I have the exact same settings as a few other people. Are you both using, are all of you using the same brokerage firm? That's question number one. Okay. So if theirs is performing 20 or 30 trades a day, and the question is, are you getting all of the alerts, right? Now, just keep in mind, everybody, we've had, right, a huge shift, almost a sea change, if you will, from one VPS provider to a new one, right? So that's caused some, just issues. We've worked through all that. Team's been awesome at working through all that. So that may be related to that. I don't know what the device is like that's accepting the trades, right? Is there an issue with your computer? I don't know. Are you accessing the back office? All that fun stuff. So there's so many what ifs in related to that. But if you genuinely think all that is all running smooth, open up a ticket. Have the team look into it. Just go into the Zendesk window in the back office and open up a ticket. When will we see accounts running different pairs? Well, right now we're already showing accounts running different pairs. So you're looking at the screen right now. There's a completely different ring right here that we're running on other accounts, with the exception of a larger stop loss. Changed. Yeah, I could do that. Let's do that. Let's take a look at the back office. And I'll tell you, this contest was great. You can see the results there of the whole contest. And the problem is I have to log out because I've got two back offices here, so it's confusing. So let's log out first. There we go. So here's the dashboard here in the back office. If you guys have not spent a lot of time back here, this is where the products are. This explains the summer Forex kickoff. The resources right here, in my opinion, most important, Einstein and Alexander. So these are the, I consider this to be first and foremost the place to start. It's a Saturday call, okay? It's the Forex forecast weekly call. These are all archived. We've got notes. It's all really good stuff. Had a bunch of special guests on. We've shown some phenomenal tricks, tips, all that cool stuff. Yeah, you're going to have to open up a ticket on that. I don't know the answer to that. So in the back office, at the top right, just click the product that you have purchased and you will get a page with a lot of information and training videos, include one explaining all the settings. Okay, so that page also has both channels in the dashboard. So I cannot go through that because my back office is not set up as a regular affiliate, okay, because I have access to so many different VPSs and stuff, guys. I actually can't show you that. But you can go into the dashboard yourself, click on the product, and now we have links to the Telegram channels, which I think is awesome, and all the training related to it. No way, in the morning I usually have a trade or two pending. Should I accept regardless of the time it was sent? So depending on when it was sent, I'll usually just decline it. If it's an older, if Alexander's an older, I decline in the beginning when I had time to do this. I was declining most of them overnight because it's asleep, right? So if you decline it, it's essentially going to reset itself and offer you a different trade if it's setting up. If I'm in the running for a more volatile account, you're saying I should flip the range multiplier. I'm running a 1 minute chart and 5 lots with a 20% weekly goal. Hey, Shane, I think you're messing with me, aren't you, brother? So, if you guys are running a 1 minute chart with 5 lines and a 20% weekly goal, and you don't understand the settings, guys, I don't really have much sympathy for you. I probably would start off with something a little more along the lines of just at a bare minimum, if you're going to go with those crazy settings, put it on a demo account first. By the way, Shane, welcome. It's good to see you, brother. I'm gonna answer that one because I'm actually gonna get Jesse's input on that, since those are some nuts settings. I'll see what he has to say about that, and I'll forward you his stuff. So again, you guys, all the videos are all in the back office. Just go to the dashboard, or go to your back office, drop down to resources. As you see here, you can get into the main software, and I have a whole review. So start with the May 30th presentation of the high volatility settings. All right, so Telegram channels in the chat window. Yes. I couldn't find the May 30th. Let's see. What do we got? Well, here's the May 31 to June 5th, right? Here's the video right there. See it? Are you looking at my screen? May 30th. Look at that. It's an hour presentation. That's a long time. Yeah, this is the one where I would start with. Jeanette, do me a favor. Send me that in an email. I'll get that answered for you once I've had a chance to take a deeper dive on that. Okay. I tell you, we should start handing out like an award for the subscribers that not only show up all the time, guys, like Jeanette, but ask great questions, right? Challenging me, right? Beating me up with good questions. I love it. So, bring more of that type of mentality to the table, and make sure you get all of your upline and downline, get on the weekly call. It just makes for a more fruitful time, and everybody gets more educated, and it really is the bottom line. All right, so I got to take off here to client meeting. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Auvoria Prime really is a fantastic organization. We have a lot of good stuff in the pipe. So I would say please have patience, and this truly can be your legacy if you guys put the rights in place. So I do thank everybody for joining. Let your heart not be troubled. We will get past this moderately invented pandemic, and I wish everybody well. Have a great week. Let the trades be with you.